Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look into Tier 6 of the Weird and Unusual Animal Iceberg. It's taken us just over a year to get to this point, and in that time the channel has grown nicely, and thank you all for coming along this journey. The Weird and Unusual Animal Iceberg has given me some interesting videos to make, such as the Quagga project along the way. So for one last time, let's dive deep into the waters and take a look at what strange and unusual animals lurk there. The Sulawesi bear couscous is a small endemic marsupial which lives in the Sulawesi island and neighbouring islands on the Indonesian archipelago. They can be found in the treetops of low altitude humid rainforest. They move very slowly and they use their tail and their front paws to move along the branches. They usually eat leaves and green fruits, and they spend a lot of their time resting to digest the cellulose that are found in their food. As with all marsupials, their offspring are born incomplete, I guess, and they can live in their mother's pouch for up to 8 months after birth. And like many species in that part of the world, they are threatened by deforestation and hunting, as well as capturing individuals for exotic trade. The giant vampire bat are an extinct species of leaf-nosed bats which were found in Central and Southern Americas. They had a wingspan of up to 60 centimeters and they weighed approximately up to 60 kg. They were fucking massive. They're the largest known vampire bat species to have ever existed, and as their name suggests, their main food source is blood. However, overall, vampire bats are actually peaceful animals, and while they do feed on the blood of animals and sometimes humans, they only cause really a minor discomfort and not really any pain, I guess. Although I've never been bitten by a vampire bat, so I can't say for sure. However, of course, they do carry rabies and other infectious diseases which can transfer onto the bitee when feeding, which again isn't great, but at least they don't hurt you when doing this. Although rabies is incredibly scary and I hate the thought of getting rabies. The great vampire bat went extinct around 1820 as a result of the Little Ice Age. This occurred in about the 14th century when glacial features increased due to the northern hemisphere temperature decreasing by 0.6 degrees. If you want to learn more about the giant vampire bat, a YouTube channel called Ben G. Thomas did a fantastic video about it, and I'll leave the link down in the description. Please check it out. The Diptodon, also known as the giant wombat, are an extinct genus of marsupial, and they are thought to be the largest group of marsupials to have ever existed. They lived from about 2.6 million years ago right up to 11,700 years ago in Australia, and are related to the living wombats and koalas. They are understood to have lived in semi-arid plains, savanna and open woodland biomes. And it is estimated that the Diptodon could eat between 100 to 150 kg of vegetation per day, with its chisel-like incisors used to root out vegetation and roots. And they were likely predated on by the marsupial line Tylercosmilis carnifex. Tylercosmilis is an extinct carnivorous animal that was closely related to kangaroos. However, they do look similar to the famous saber-toothed cats. As it was a close relative to kangaroos, this of course means it was a marsupial and likely had a pouch to carry its young in. Tylercosmilis lived about 8 million years ago in South America, when South America was still separated from Central and North America by water. As there were no members of the cat family in South America at this time, Tylercosmilis evolved to fill the void, or the niche as it were, and so it grew large canines similar to the saber-toothed cats. Its lower jaw also evolved large bony extensions used to protect the teeth when they weren't in use. Once the land bridge between North and Central America was formed, many marsupial animals gave way to placental mammals which came in and filled the ecological niche. And thus was the end of Tylercosmilis. The Irrawaddy dolphins. The Irrawaddy dolphins are a euryhaline species, meaning that they live in both fresh and saline waters. The Irrawaddy dolphins are found in south and southeast coastal areas of Asia, and it is estimated that there were just 89 individuals left. These dolphins have a big forehead, a small beak, and 12 to 19 teeth on each side of their massive jawline. And unfortunately, they suffer greatly as a result of bycatch, being tangled up in fishing nets, hydroelectric power, changes to the rivers and waters, as well as illegal hunting. And it is very likely that the Uruguay Dolphin will go globally extinct in a very short space of time. The Yoda Cat. This one led me down an interesting rabbit hole, I guess, because I wasn't aware it was a species, and it turns out it isn't, although I will be happily corrected if it is. Most of my research led me into the Sphinx cat, which I already covered back in Tier 1, so I was a little apprehensive about the whole thing. But I did catch an article from CNN which described a cat which resembled Yoda, and I can kind of see it, yeah, it does look like Yoda. Joy, the Yoda cat, hit international news in 2019 when it was brought into a medical veterinary hospital in North Carolina. At the Carolus Animal Hospital in North Carolina, Joy was treated for many illnesses, including respiratory problems as well as intestinal parasites, as well as the vet being quoted to say that its owner had damaged its ears to look like Yoda. I'm not sure about that one, maybe that was a bit hyperbole, but it was claimed anyway that the owner was incredibly mistreating Joy. So, North Carolina Carolus Hospital put out a request for someone to come along and rescue Joy. And this made international news, obviously, because everyone wanted a cat to look like Yoda, and there was a lot of interest. And eventually, it seems that the doctor or the vet that was looking after Joy just became sick of all the public hype and attention around Joy, and the owner of the cat contacted the local dog warden or animal warden, I guess, about getting their cat back, and there was nothing they could do about it because she was the owner. And so, according to the latest article I read from 2021, they just released Joy back to its owner, which was clearly mistreating it, and that seems like a terrible idea. So not so joyful after all. The Platybelladonna is an extinct species of prehistoric elephant with a very interesting jaw. Platybelladonna means flat spear jaw, which, I guess. This extremely odd structure was probably used for rooting up plants, and it just kind of walked along with its mouth on the ground and just almost ploughed up the plant. And it is likely that it lived in swampy areas with a lot of root tubers, as opposed to YouTubers. But the Platybelladonna likely lived in small areas of swampland in Africa, Asia, Europe, and North America from about 23 million years to 5.3 million years ago. And their predators included probably the saber-toothed tiger, which is pretty cool. I did come across a new paper stating that they didn't actually dig up roots with their jaw-like structure, but the general consensus online is that they did. But I think regardless of how they actually ate, they're just a weird looking animal, and I'm glad to have covered them. The Curie Dog are an extinct breed of dog that were brought to New Zealand in the 13th century by ancestors of the Maori. These dogs, which are said to have howled rather than barked, had long hair, quite short legs, and a quite bushy tail. The Curie Dogs were an important food source for the Maori tribe, who really enjoyed their meat. And explorer James Cook tasted it and said it was as good as lamb. I have my doubts, but you never know. The dog's skin was used for cloaks, and their bones were used for fish hooks as well as necklaces. And their hair were tied onto weapons, which were used to distract the enemy while the weapon moved. The Curie were very good hunters, it seems, often capturing pukugo, kiwis, as well as other birds. The Curie dogs were also sacrificed for rituals and were an important food for their priests. The Curie dog became very rare in the 1800s when they started to become crossbred with other breeds that were brought over from Europe, and soon eventually they just disappeared altogether. And that was the end of the Curie, who didn't have the best of lives really when you're just being eaten and being sacrificed to the gods. But sure, don't we all have it tough really at the end of the day? The Tibetan fox are hardy plateau-dwelling animals which have been chiselled out of necessity to become the very best at hunting plateau picas, as well as living at very high altitudes. Although these foxes are often remembered for their rather square face, they've also been rather famous for their ability to work together with other animals, including bears, to help scare Pitka out of their little burrows. This is mainly due to the Tibetan fox not being at all territorial and are happy to work in their pairs or with other Tibetan foxes, or like I said, even bears. And because of this, they're happy to work together to hunt their prey, which they'll share with their partners, their kits, and even other carnivorous animals, which is rather rare really. The Tibetan fox is rarely found outside of its natural habitat of the high Tibetan plateaus in Asia and other mountainous areas in Asia. And they're just really cool. I love them. So that brings us to the end of Tier 6 of the Weird and Unusual Animal Iceberg. And of course, that brings us to the end of the Weird and Unusual Animal Iceberg. And what a journey it's been on, where we've covered some incredible animals and I got to talk absolute rubbish about each and every one of them. Some of them were a lot more detailed and some of them had very little detail at all, because we love consistency around here. But the important thing is, I enjoyed making them, and hopefully the 27 of you watching enjoyed watching them. And if for some reason you haven't yet subscribed, please do so, because I'd like to get to 100 subscribers at some stage soon. And yeah, of course, look, there's going to be a lot more content coming soon. And if you have any suggestions about what videos to make, please reply down in the comment section. And of course, we'll catch you all next time.